Hello and very warm welcome at Amish Cycle 5858. I am Amish Cycle. Foreign news have been reported by American, European, Asian, African, Australian news channels and the news agencies. So please, let's go to the headlines.
Good morning, America. New cross-country storm. Winter weather advisories from Wisconsin to New Jersey. Blizzard warnings in the Great Lakes as the Northeast digs out from up to a foot of snow, causing air travelers to face thousands of delays and cancellations. And the West digs out from deadly mudslides. At least 50 homes severely damaged in one community alone.
Push for peace. President Trump meeting with Ukraine's President Zelensky at Mar-a-Lago. The latest effort to end the war between Kyiv and Moscow. The concessions Ukraine is making, but is it enough to bring Putin to the table?
Urgent search. A 19-year-old Texas teen vanishing on Christmas Eve. The video authorities are looking at, the fears for her safety, and what friends and family are saying about her disappearance.
Breaking overnight, natural gas leak. Part of a major California freeway shut down for hours, causing massive backups. Residents told to shelter in place. The situation this morning.
Grab your popcorn.
We ready?
Spidey swings back. A new Avengers movie is born. And Grogu hits the galaxy. GMA rounds up the movies already building buzz for 2026.
And must-win weekend. Playoff. New York City. It's Sunday. Good morning, America.
Good morning, America. Our last Sunday program before we all say farewell to 2025. It's so exciting. So we can start our countdown to New Year's today. Just ahead, an up-close look at the 12,000-pound crystal sphere that is front and center in the annual Times Square celebration.
And I love all of the new lighting they have on that pole. Really exciting stuff. Also ahead here, Russia's latest punishing attacks on Kyiv as Ukraine's president prepares to meet in Florida with President Trump today.
But we do begin with another storm coming, just as millions of Americans are still digging out from the snow that caused thousands of flight delays. Let's start with meteorologist Leslie Lopez from our Los Angeles station KABC, joining us here in New York with the new threat we're tracking now. Leslie, good morning.
Good morning. I know, if you're out towards Nebraska, Dakotas, if you're out towards Minnesota, getting into the Great Lakes, I mean, this is what we're looking at, a wintry weather mix. And yes, if you're not under a winter storm warning or advisory, you might be under a blizzard warning. This is out towards Marquette, over into Fargo, down to Mason City. That's where we could see some blizzard conditions. We also have some high winds down to the southern portion of it looks like the Great Lakes. High wind warnings here, anywhere from Michigan to Detroit, but also some rain. We have some wet weather moving through the Buffalo area. So this weather is going to be continuing forward. The timing of this today through tomorrow, and maybe even lake effect snow by the time we head into Tuesday, and an icy mix for the Northeast. So a lot going on. We want you to be careful and safe. We're going to send it back over your way.
All right, Leslie, we'll check back in just a bit. Airlines, meantime, are working to get their schedules back to normal following the storm that caused thousands of delays and cancellations and made a mess on the roads. ABC's Morgan Norwood is here tracking the latest on that. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. You know, I was out in it yesterday. It was a real mess, and we're still dealing with the effects today. This storm is still running the show, even though it's long gone now. But icy roads, jammed airports are slowing post-holiday travel. While out west, we have communities just beginning to recover from flooding and mudslides, and they're already watching the next system move in. This morning.
On this Sunday night, another pivotal meeting over the war in Ukraine. The presidents of the U.S. and Ukraine face-to-face as a peace deal with Russia seems close.
There will be a security agreement. It'll be a strong agreement.
Plus, from a sex symbol of cinema to staunch activist, the legacy and controversies of French actor Brigitte Bardot. And from Trudeau's resignation to bombshell party defections, a look back at the year that was in Canadian politics and what's ahead.
Global National, reporting tonight, Ann Gaviola.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. It is another meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky as peace in Ukraine hangs in the balance. The two leaders met at Trump's Mar-a-Lago mansion in Florida today, hoping they could soon close the gap on a U.S. proposal to end Russia's invasion. But questions linger over what the Kremlin has in mind. Candace Cole has our top story tonight.
Sunday, U.S. President Donald Trump welcomed Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida to continue talks to end Russia's war with Ukraine that's dragged on for nearly 4 years.
We have a great achievements, 20-point peace plan, 90% agreed, and U.S.-Ukraine security guarantees, 100% agreed.
We're doing very well. We could be very close. There are one or two very thorny issues.
Zelensky praised both Ukrainian and American negotiating teams' work on territorial concessions. Zelensky said,
"You know our position, so it's, we have to respect our law and our people. We respect the territory which we control."
Ukraine's constitution forbids any land concessions without a national referendum. Just hours before their meeting, Trump said he'd had a, quote, good and very productive telephone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin. According to the Kremlin, that call, lasting an hour and 15 minutes, revealed Trump and Putin do not support a temporary ceasefire backed by Ukraine and the European Union ahead of preparing a possible referendum to cede territory in the Donbass region, which is primarily under Russian control. Trump told reporters he thinks the U.S. and Ukrainian teams will be able to work quickly to bring about peace.
We made a lot of progress today, but really we've made it over the last month. This is not a one-day process deal. This is very complicated stuff.
As those peace talks persist, Russia continues to bombard Ukraine relentlessly with airstrikes, targeting residential buildings. Zelensky's meeting with Trump comes just a day after his visit with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, who vowed more support for Ukraine. Trump says he plans to speak with Putin again after his meeting with Zelensky. Candace Cole, Global News, Washington.
Here in Canada, a massive winter storm is sweeping across Ontario and into Quebec. Storm warnings have been issued for large parts of both provinces. Freezing rain is the biggest threat, and Toronto is already being hit with 15 to 20 millimeters expected closer to Ottawa and into Quebec. Elizabeth Sokalis is in Montreal with more.
All right, Joey, I'm coming to you first. We watched, obviously, that press conference there. Short and sweet. What was your main way? It sounded like the thorny issue was indeed the security guarantees. That's been the thorny issue for quite some time. They reduced it from a 28 plan to a 20-point plan. I don't know which 8 got tossed out necessarily, but where do you think they are?
Yeah, so what happened here is that Zelensky brought this agreement to Trump, said, let's work on this and see if you agree with me so I can take it to Putin or you can take it to Putin. So I don't want people to think that this is something where President Putin is already on board with this. That's going to be the problem. And I think the security guarantees is the biggest problem for the United States, because if you're going to treat Ukraine with the same defensive agreement that NATO offers, then what's the difference between that and joining NATO? And I don't know where Putin even would be on that. But then on the other side, I think where Russia's going to have the biggest problem is you're talking about a spot of land that Russia's saying they're fighting this war to obtain. They've gained control of most of it, talking about the Donbass. And that region, Zelensky doesn't want to cede any of the land. He wants to create an economic freedom zone that's also a demilitarized zone, and then right next to that have a buffer of what's called a fortress zone, where they basically would stack up their military. So you have this, I think he proposed anywhere between 5 and 40 meters of no military, but then right behind that would be a fortress to defend themselves. I don't see Putin agreeing to any of that.
Yeah.
So I don't know where, talking about 90%, 95%, that's between Ukraine and President Trump. I don't know where Putin falls in any of this.
Yeah, I think that's really the question. Kaylee, when we look at this, I think the American people want to see Ukraine succeed, as we all do. But there was a time where the blank checks kept rolling. And as we discussed yesterday, the compassion was starting to dry up a little bit. And we talked about a realism that had to reach Zelensky. Like, you're not going to get everything that you want. You're probably going to have to give something up. We know that the people are going to also have to, in some way, shape, or form, this referendum or parliament, agree to that.
is Sky News, the headlines. Donald Trump hosts President Zelensky at his resort in Florida and says they've made a lot of progress thrashing out a peace deal with Ukraine. President Trump calls the meeting terrific and says both the Ukrainian and Russian presidents want to make a deal the war. British Egyptian activist Alaa al-Fatah apologizes for several historic tweets in which he appears towards and tribute to the actress and campaigner Brigitte Bardot, who's died at the age of 9. President Trump says he thinks a Russia-Ukraine deal to end the fighting is a lot closer following talks in Florida. But he added one or two thorny issues remain. His comments came after President Zelensky met him at his Mar-a-Lago resort to iron out the details of a peace plan that could be presented to Moscow, with the pair agreeing to further talks with European leaders in Washington next month. Our US correspondent Mark Stone reports from Palm Beach.
It must all feel a very long way from his war back home, President Zelensky in Florida for a meeting at Mar-a-Lago. The Floridian sun, Palm Beach, peak holiday time, and the faux palatial backdrop. All of it so incongruous and yet a moment for sure, another one, where Ukraine's future, its destiny, could be moulded. And so read the faces if you can. Trump's harder than Zelensky's maybe, because he has shifted back and forth so much. And now, just off the phone with Putin.
President, do you think Putin is serious about peace this time?
There are security and positive, positive.
It'll be strong. Nations
Second, how much Ukraine is willing to give up, well, Zelensky would not be drawn.
President, are you willing to make territorial concessions?
We will speak about 20 points plan. There are in 20 points plan, 90% by the way was done by our two teams. I think they made a great job. Great, and yes, we will discuss these points also.
It's easy to get lost in all this, the progress, the positions, and the multi-point plans. But remember, a few weeks ago, the Americans produced a 26-point plan. It amounted effectively to a Russian wish list. Since then, the Ukrainians, with the Europeans and coordinating with the Americans, have refined it. It's 20 points now. But is it actually acceptable to the Americans, to Trump, let alone the Russians and Putin? That is what Zelensky is here to find out. In the room, there were no public words, but a look around the table is telling. Trump's top team, including his top general, here to talk security guarantees, maybe. And Secretary of State Marco Rubio, too, more skeptical of Putin than anyone on Trump's team. On the other side of the world, in a different world, the conflict continues. The latest Russian bombardment in Ukraine. This certainly suggests Putin has no interest in ending the war, despite what Trump says. On brand, he was in fatigues for his latest appearance and holding the line on his demands.
We see that, unfortunately, the leaders of the Kyiv regime are not rushing to resolve this conflict by peaceful means. If Kyiv authorities are not willing to end the matter peacefully, we will achieve all the goals we have in the special military operation by military means.
Back in Florida, after a couple of hours, the talk was of progress, but nothing was actually said that showed progress made.
We discussed all the aspects of the peace framework, which includes, and we have great achievements, 20-point peace plan, 90% agreed, and US-Ukraine security guarantees, 100% agreed. US-Europe-Ukraine security guarantees, almost agreed. Military dimension, 100% agreed. Prosperity plan being finalized, and we also discussed.
We could be very close. There are one or two very thorny issues, very tough issues, but I think we're doing very well.
This was not a breakthrough day, but nor did they go backwards, and that is an achievement in itself. Mark Stone, Sky News in Palm Beach.
And Mark had this assessment following that news conference between the two leaders.
A couple of other observations. First of all, watching that news conference that just happened in Mar-a-Lago, I was fascinated by Zelensky's face. As I said, Trump did most of the talking. And at times, look, I mean, this is my reading of it, but at times I thought Zelensky looked exasperated. Trump was making jokes about the food, the lunch. Did they enjoy it? Trump said that.
This is Asia Now.
It's 11 a.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 8:30 in New Delhi, and 10 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Clara Lee. At this hour, China's military conducting drills around Taiwan in a move it said was a stern warning against separatists and external forces. Taiwan condemns the rules. With Foreign Minister Wang Yi plays host to his Thai and Cambodian counterparts in Yunnan to try to consolidate peace efforts along their border. China's military has deployed multiple forces around Taiwan for its Just Mission 2025 drills. Taiwan has condemned the military exercises, which comes just days after the U.S. major weapons package for the self-ruled island. State news agency Xinhua says Chinese Army's Eastern Theater Command conducted a land attack mobile target drill in central Taiwan Strait today. Fighter jets, bombers, and drones were deployed this morning in coordination with long-range firepower, testing its precision strike capabilities. And a 10-hour live firing exercise will be conducted tomorrow starting from 8 a.m. local time. The Chinese military has designated 5 zones around Taiwan, which are under sea and airspace restrictions. A spokesperson for China's Eastern Theater said the drills will focus on naval and air force combat readiness and controlling key ports in other areas.
重点演练海空战备警巡，夺取综合制权、要岗要域风控、外线立体射阻等科目，舰机多项抵近台岛，诸军兵种联合突击，旨在检验战区部队联合作战实战能力。这是对台独分裂势力和外部干涉势力的严重警告，是捍卫国家主权、维护国家统一的正当必要行动。
Africa News. The news.
A row between the United Kingdom and the Democratic Republic of the Congo has escalated over what London calls Kinshasa's refusal to cooperate with its new policy of returning undocumented migrants and people convicted of crimes. On Saturday, the UK's Home Secretary announced that she was stripping the DRC of fast-track visa services and preferential treatment for VIPs and government officials. Shabana Mahmood warned that London could block visas to all Congolese citizens unless Kinshasa steps up cooperation. The move follows sweeping immigration reforms Mahmood introduced last month as Prime Minister Keir Starmer's government looks to stem the flow of irregular migrants to the country. The changes include making asylum status temporary and speeding up deportation for migrants who arrive in Britain without documents. Mahmood praised Namibia and Angola for agreeing to cooperate with the changes. UK asylum applications reached a record high last year. The Kremlin released a video late on Saturday of Russian President Vladimir Putin at an unidentified command post receiving battlefield updates. Putin was told that Russian troops have taken full control of 2 cities in the Ukrainian regions of Donetsk and Zaporizhia. Now we see that there are also smart people in the West who recommend that the Kyiv authorities accept decent ending the conflict for Ukraine in the long team. President Zelensky will meet US President Trump on Sunday. A talk agreement ends the almost 2-year-long war. Africa Convention the continental tournament. There's nothing called an easy team in Africa. They develop very fast due to the presence of the players in the European League and access to the whole world. Playing in the Arabian League.
Whatever you're into, oh my god, stream them all now on ABC iView.
Love Aussie drama? I don't think I like being in my 30s, Frank.
You didn't like your 20s much either.
Stream all 3 seasons of the award-winning show that captured our hearts.
So tomorrow we're friends?
Well, I think it's worth a try.
But this is it. This is life.
You don't have to be involved in everybody's life, Frank. Maybe you'd be happier if you weren't.
You left me because you wanted to get a life, and here you are still trying to find one.
Love My Way. Stream it all now on ABC iView.
Today, hero Ahmed Al-Ahmed, the man who disarmed one of the Bondi gunmen, shares his story.
I know I saved lots, but I feel sorry still for the lost.
As the Prime Minister again resists the growing calls for a federal royal commission into the Bondi terror attack.
We need to respond with unity and urgency rather than division and delay.
Also ahead, weather warnings, heavy rain intensifies over Queensland's north, while residents in WA's northwest prepare for a tropical cyclone. Ukraine and US leaders say territorial issues remain after discussing a peace deal with Russia in Florida. And Nick Kyrgios' controversial Battle of the Sexes tennis match with women's world number 1, Aryna Sabalenka, labelled a farce. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Gemma Vaness. One of the heroes of the Bondi attack has given his first interview since his brave actions on the beach. Ahmed Al-Ahmed snuck up behind one of the 2 gunmen and wrestled a long-barreled gun away from him. Since then, he has been undergoing surgeries at St George Hospital for multiple gunshot wounds. In an exclusive interview with CBS News, the Syrian-Australian shop owner gave his recount of the event.
I know I save lots of people's life, innocent kids and women and oldest and men, and I know I save lots, but I feel sorry still for the lost. I jumped to him in his back, hit him, and hold him with my right hand, and start saying, like to warn, drop gun, stop doing what you're doing. Is in the past, which my body, my brand, I people killed in front of me. I don't want to see blood. I don't want to hear his gun. I don't want to. No.
My former boss, Dennis Ridson, it'll look at whether federal law enforcement and intelligence operated as effectively as possible prior to the attack. Political reporter Romy Stevens has more from Canberra.
And the Prime Minister has today again resisted those growing calls, instead opting to release the terms of reference for a review into intelligence and law enforcement agencies. It will be led by former spy chief Dennis Richardson. Now, those growing calls for a federal royal commission have taken place over the past couple of weeks since the Bondi terror attack, and that includes calls from Jewish community leaders, Jewish groups.
This is DW News, live from Berlin. Trump's Ukraine is close to a peace deal with Russia. The American president and Coast ruling party predicted to be the winner.
Prime access to illegal foresters and could have unprecedented ecological.
Welcome to Night Watch on France 24. I'm Alexander. These are the lines this up. Inviting Ukrainian President Zelensky to his Mar-a-Lago residence, US President Trump says a peace deal with Russia closer than ever, though he acknowledges the negotiations are complex and could still break down. Kosovo's Prime Minister Albin Kurti pledges to form a new government quickly, as his party is shown to have 50% of all votes cast in Sunday's snap election. The result should end a political paralysis in the Balkan state. And the world bids farewell to a woman dubbed a legend of the 20th century by French President Emmanuel Macron, the actress, model and singer, along with 60s sex kitten Brigitte Bardot. Thanks for being with us here on France.
Tonight, the Arctic slam, snarling travel and triggering headaches during the rush home from the holidays. Tens of millions of us under winter alerts tonight, with dangerous conditions already on the roads and in the sky. Thousands of flights already delayed as another storm barrels straight for the northeast. We're tracking it all. Breaking tonight, 2 helicopters crashing into each other, one of them spinning out of control. At least one person dead. The crumpled wreckage on the ground. The NTSB now investigating. We're live at the scene. The president's peace push, the high-stakes meeting behind closed doors with Ukraine's leader today, pledging a deal will get done, and what to expect from a separate second summit set for tomorrow with Israel's leader. Chaos and 139 people on board. The truly wild saga for one man, whose crawl space is now home to this 500-pound bear that won't leave.
It's like
The noises, the smells, and why wildlife officials haven't been able to get it out. The future of food that looks, spreads, even apparently tastes like butter. Why it's a big boost to the environment. And there's good news tonight about our hopes and dreams for 2026, hidden in all that.
Weekly News with Hallie Jackson.
Good evening. We are coming on the air with a holiday travel mess, a dangerous winter blast, and delights, as millions of Americans face tough trips home this week. Some
Deadly crash to collide air. Aircraft engulfed in flames, falling to the ground.
I'm Ray Strickland in Hamilton, New Jersey, with new details on the mid-air collision. The emergency.
New cross-storm residents.
Deck with what you need to know.
At airports, delays and cancellations in the thousands, with millions on the move.
I'm Chanel Call at New Jersey's Newark Airport. Sunday was projected to be the coming up. We'll have details on the holiday travel rush.
Diplomatic push.
I do believe that we have to be making a deal.
I'm Willie James, and I'm traveling in West Palm Beach, Florida. Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky arrived here seeking U.S. support for a revised peace plan, but will his concessions be enough to bring President Putin to the table?
Gas leak scare. A major California freeway shut down.
Thank you for watching Ahmed Shakil 5858. I am Ahmed Shakil. I hope you will visit again. Have a good life. Bye-bye.